As president, what's your thought process on how we create jobs? And as president, what will you do to help expand them?
Okay, the government's pretty lousy at creating jobs, and that shouldn't be their prime function, because if they do, and you say create jobs, they're going to create more bureaucrats. And we have too many bureaucrats, and they're making way too much money. They make twice as much as the average person does in the private sector. So we don't need more jobs by the government. But the government does have a responsibility, and that is to create the environment where people can be confident about the future, and they know what the taxes will be, what the regulations would be, and know what the trade arrangements will be. This unknown is difficult. But we're in a period right now that causes the loss of confidence because we've had this patching up of this financial bubble which has been forming since the breakdown of the Bretton Woods Agreement. We went off the gold standard. So the bubble has been forming since August of 1971. And every time it tried to correct with the recession, they did get away with printing more and spending more, and it seemed to help. But now this is all over because the mountain of debt is so big. And stimulating the economy with spending more doesn't work. And the other stimulus they used was printing press money, which means that they lower interest rates. Well, actually, interest rates for the banks is below zero because you get it for less than 1%. And there's an inflation rate of about 5 to 10, depending on how you calculate it. So they're getting free money, and then they invest it by treasury bills. So they're in business. That all has to be changed. In order to get economic growth for a country, it'd be like if you were bankrupt, how you can get economic growth in your own personal finances. Because if you were over in debt, spent beyond your means, had 3 automobiles and 2 houses, and 1 job, and you can't get another credit card, you got to change your activity. You got to quit spending. You got to start paying your debt down. You have to work harder. When that comes back into balance, then you can have economic growth again. But politicians, along with the teachings of Keynesian economics, have said, no, deficits are good and government spending is good, so they don't want to do it. And actually, the politicians don't want to do it either because people frown on that. They like to get free stuff. I wonder why the business people don't have confidence. Well, if you want to start a new businesses in this country, hopefully we could exempt all the small companies, but big companies or whatever,
Thank you.
That's it. So just to get all your permits done, it can take years. I had a businessman tell me he's over in China now because it took him 3 weeks. He says, I couldn't have gotten that done in 3 years. And so we create an environment that we chase our businesses away. And we chase capital away too. And to have a company come back and bring their investments back here, we'd have to change that environment, but we would have to not re-tax them on the money they've already made. We'd have to let them bring the money home and put the money to work. So it's a matter of understanding free markets versus government planning and government intervention and sound money. And regulations should be done by the bureaucrats in Washington. If you want regulations in your state, you go to the state senators and you ask them for the regulation.
Thank you, sir.
No, when you want to get rid of the regulation, this is the guy you go to.
If you don't get rid of any regulations, you can knock me out of this sport.
No, but even environmentally and everything, it could be handled more locally, rather than assuming that you have to have more bureaucracies in Washington. It doesn't work. But it requires actually to get it moving again, you have to have a change of an understanding by the people. Because if, and that's what this fight is going on occupying Wall Street and all, because I've already criticized, the companies that got bailed out and the banks that did debt and the military-industrial complex benefits. So, but some people think that anybody who makes profit's a bad guy, but that's not true. So we have to sort it out and return this to the marketplace, and then we would have jobs. We would be looking for workers under those conditions.